So today we're going to talk about Sealas, who I think is one of the more cooler cards in Dokkan. I think Sealas looks pretty goddamn fire. From his pre-fusion to his fusion, he looks pretty cool. Looks, honestly, it's like, this is a very unique design for a card. Now, normally I'm not the craziest when it comes to Dragon Ball Heroes cards as a whole, but I just think that Sealas looks pretty badass. I just gotta admit. So let me just go ahead and sneak in Sealas's fusion so that we can get on with the video. Like, look at that. Shout out to the first warden, by the way. But yeah, look at that. Magnifico. My goodness, it looks beautiful. Oh my god. That looks immaculate. So, today we're talking about Sealas, and Sealas comes out in June of 2019. That is very weird that they do a Dragon Ball Hero celebration in June of 2019. Then he comes out in August of 2019 for Global. Very weird. Okay, so he comes out during the Legendary Goku event meta, and I remember this guy being quite solid for the Legendary Goku event meta. Not really the craziest, but solid. Because the thing is that although there is technically no starter turn attack and defensive buff inside of his pre-EZA, of course, he technically does. It's like on one front, he doesn't have it that says that he starts out with that starter turn, but of course, guys, technically he does. He starts out with 2 ki and 40% attack. Well, he has no defense. Huh. I always thought that he gave defense aside his pre-EZA. Hey, the more you know. So, I mean, for the Legendary Goku meta, he was pretty solid, I would say so, but of course this guy is a slot 2 unit because you want this guy to super to get his 100% attack and defense when performing a super attack anyways, and when this guy would fuse from the 5th turn from the start of battle, which would be very easy during that meta, this guy would just go ahead and open up into this guy, who was actually a bit of a demon, because now this guy actually started out with a attack and defensive buff with ki, so he started out with 3 ki and 60% attack and defense, as well as him gaining a 120% attack and defense performing the super attack, which is just absolutely monstrous, which will make this guy hit quite hard for the time of his release, that being June of 2019. Now, him performing quite alright for the Legendary Goku event. How does he perform for Battle Road? I think this guy was actually a bit of a menace in Battle Road, because this guy would be doing solid attack stats. His defense will look pretty alright post super attack, and he's a support type unit to not only artificial life forms, but time travelers too, which is obviously something that you gotta give flowers to. That's good. Being a dual support type unit is something that is quite nice. That's why people praise STR Cooler the way they do, because not only is that guy a defensive stacker that has additional super attack chance, but he's a support type unit to, of course, Big Daddy, that being LR Final Form Cooler. Now, let's go ahead and talk about how this guy performs post-EZA. So, I think that Sealas becomes so much more better post-EZA, and it is just quite evident inside of this guy's, of course, super attack effect, and inside his passive too. Because now, he starts out with ki and an attack and defensive buff, even though inside his pre-EZA, he only started out with ki and an attack buff, with no defense whatsoever to speak of, because he had his super to get his defense. So, moving on over back to his EZA, it would be just way more better for this guy to perform. Because pre-EZA, this guy was pretty much in the mud with no defense, but he was alright for that meta. But now, obviously, starts out 1 ki and 100% attack and defense. So, him starting out with an attack and defensive buff with ki is definitely really nice, and he still gains 100% attack and defense when performing a super attack, of course. And now this guy gives 1 ki and 20% attack and defense from his support type buffs, which is obviously really good. So now this guy is gaining 2 ki and 40% attack and defense from his support type buffs, which is obviously quite good. And this guy has a 50% chance to dodge, which is obviously really great. So he gains a attack and defensive buff from his passive all the way to his super attack effect. Although it's not an attack and defensive buff, who cares? He's getting a defensive buff from his super attack effect all the way over to his passive. So 2 separate procs of a defensive buff on super attack for this guy is quite good. Meanwhile, this guy is a support type unit that has a 50% chance to dodge, which is obviously quite good. And of course, he is a big bad boss's unit. Now going on over to his fusion, which of course the fusion condition has not changed. So for the 5th turn for the start of battle, Going over to his fusion, this guy, this is a nasty fusion. So this guy, when he does fuse, he of course now gains 30% defense on super attack, which obviously really helps this guy out still. And he massively lowers defense, which of course, who cares? Wait, does he do that pre-EZA? He did do that pre-EZA. Who cares? Massively lowering defense is completely useless. But the new thing is that he gains defense on super attack, which is very, very important. So now this guy starts out with 3 key and 120% attack and defense, which is obviously really nice. And he gains 120% attack defense performing a super attack. So of course, from his pre-fusion, this guy still gains a defensive buff from his super attack effect all the way over to his passive, which is obviously, of course, great. I love when they do units like this. He loses his support type buff, but it's okay, because let's take a look at what this guy's doing anyways. So this guy, of course, builds up 10% attack and defense up to 30% attack and defense with each attack performs. So that's only 3 attacks. And he performs a guaranteed crit when the target is in the attack or defensive down status, which of course he is supporting that from his super attack effect. So not only is this guy gaining defense from both his super attack effect to his passive, but this guy is supporting his own passive of him gaining a guaranteed crit when he lowers enemies defense or attack from his super attack effect of massively lowering defense. Sealas is quite good. He's really good. And of course he launched additional attack. That's a 50% chance to come a super attack. So this guy could triple super attack. So this guy has guaranteed crits built into his passive. He has 2 defensive sort of procs from his super attack effect all the way over to his passive. And he supports his guaranteed crits from his passive, from his super attack effect. This guy's quite good. That's like, it's right there. The proof is in the pudding, guys. It's really good. The proof is all there. So how does this guy perform inside the red zone? I think this guy... I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Outside of the Super Dragon Ball Heroes Red Zone stages, I have not used this guy. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume, based off of what I'm seeing, he will perform alright. But the thing is that this guy is pure defense. So if this guy gets hit by a super attack, it's like every other unit in the red zone. What happens, class, when a unit that has pure defense gets hit by a super attack? They die. Just like that. They're completely gone. So this guy would probably get clapped in the red zone on a super attack, but I think post super attack on normals, I think this guy would be alright. I would like to assume, because in his pre-transformation, well, pre-fusion, this guy does have a 50% chance to dodge that you could fall back on, and he does gain 100% attack and defense from his passive on super attack and gains 30% defense on super attack over here. So defensively, he could probably take a normal. It mostly depends on dupes. So let me just take a quick peek at this. Yeah, I mean, he only has 9,000 defense, so damn near 10k. Man, I don't know. I don't know how this guy performed in the red zone. I would just assume that he will perform alright. I think he'll be alright in the red zone. Please, take that with a grain of salt, because I have never used this guy in the red zone. I'm going to go ahead and just do that today. So let's go ahead and just take a quick peek at how many 200% leader skills that Sealas is on. So Sealas is on 5 200% leader skills, that being Heart's 200% leader skill, that being LR Final Form Cooler's 200% leader skill, that being Hachiat Goku's 200% leader skill, that of course being both the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta's 200% leader skills also, which is obviously quite impressive that this guy's on 5 200% leader skills. Let's go ahead and talk about what is good and what's bad about Sealas. So what is good about Sealas pre-EZA? Let me just go ahead and pre-EZA both of them. I think what's good about Sealas pre-EZA is the fact that this guy, it was a support type unit that gained a attack defensive buff on super attack from his passive, which is obviously really nice. 100% attack and defense when forming a super attack, excuse me guys, is actually quite good, although I wish he gained a defensive buff on super attack from his pre-EZA. It's still solid nonetheless that this guy could be sat inside slot 2 or slot 3 to get his attack and defensive buff on super attack anyways, with of course his 2 key and 40% attack. And he also has arguably an easy fusion condition, 5th turn for start of battle. I would say yes, because 2019 was the legendary Goku event meta, so this was actually of course piss easy to get off. And of course, when this guy did fuse pre-EZA, this guy started out with attack defensive buff and key, which is obviously really nice, as well as this guy gaining 120% attack and defense on super attack. So I think in his pre-EZA form, I think he was overall a pretty solid unit all around. I think the only complaints I have is his super attack effects in both his pre-fusion and fusion. Yeah, massively lowering defense. And then greatly lowering defense. Now, what is good about him post-EZA? Now, I think the best thing they did for him for his post-EZA is give him defense and super attack, as well as give this guy a starter turn attack and defensive buff. Those two things are super important. And of course, they give this guy a 50% chance to dodge with attack, defense, and ki from his dual support type buffs to Artificial Life Form and Time Travelers. I think Sealas is quite good. He's a support type unit inside his pre-transformation, of course. Let's go ahead and just map it out. He is a support type unit to 2 categories that has a 50% chance to dodge and gains a defensive buff from both his passive to his super attack effect. That's quite good while starting out with the attack and defensive buff and ki anyways. Sealas is very good. Of course, he gains an attack and defensive buff. I'm just saying defensive buff only just to, you know, keep it similar to the name of him getting 30% defense on super attack. I mean, of course, he gets an attack and defensive buff from his passive, but I can't just say he gets an attack and defensive buff from his passive to his super attack effect because he's not gaining attack with his defensive buff on his super attack effect anyways. So him gaining defense from both his super attack effect to his passive is obviously quite good. Starting out with an attack and defensive buff, ki support type unit that has a 50% chance to dodge with, I would say, a pretty easy fusion condition is quite good. Sealas is pretty goddamn solid, to say the least. He's pretty good. And he also has big bad bosses, which is obviously really important. And of course, when this guy fuses, he becomes a offensive demon because of course this guy is still gaining an attack and defensive buff on super attack from his passive to his super attack effect. Of course, this guy gains 30% defense, not 30% attack and defense, but still, you guys get exactly what I mean. And also, this guy has very easy build up, just needs 3 attacks, gain that 30% attack and defense. This guy performs a guaranteed crit with the targets in the attack or defensive down status. He massively lowers defense, so he supports that. And this guy has additional super attack chance. So additional super attack chance, he supports his guaranteed crits with his defensive debuff lowering. He has easy attack and defensive build up, starts out with 3 ki and 120% attack and defense, gains 120% attack defense forming a super attack. What the hell doesn't he do? It's like the only thing that he's really missing is like damage reduction or something. If he had damage reduction, he'd be gross. Imagine they changed that 50% chance to dodge to 50% damage reduction if you had extreme class character attacking the same turn. Beautiful. He'd be absolutely just beautiful. Not that he's already beautiful. Look at his transformation. Looks beautiful. Looks amazing. Or fusion, excuse me. So what is bad about Sealas? I think the only issue I have with him, I have no issue with his pre-fusion. I think his pre-fusion is a-okay. But his post-fusion, I feel as if though if they made this, instead of giving him this additional super attack chance, if they gave him something to fall back on like guard or damage reduction or kept him with his 50% chance to dodge, woo, Sealas would be so nasty. But other than that, I just think that Sealas doesn't have anything defensive to fall back on. He's just a straight like offensive juggernaut. He's just like offense. He's just like, look at this, look at that spear. Look at that. He pelts you with that. That's KO. So, guys, I gotta go ahead and get up out of here because I am quite busy today. This is his best link opponents, by the way. Yeah, himself, of course. What's it at link level 10? Take a quick peek. 90% defense. Too bad you only ever get to see us in a private server. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. I mean, you could see it inside the game too, but it's kind of hard to get them to stay on turn together because both of them will transform. I appreciate you guys watching. You guys are the best. I'll catch you guys next video, and I love you all. Peace.